All right, we are back. Dynasty Trades in 5. I'm Clay.
And Shane?
And I'm Scott, ready to take over a starting gig.
Nice. Nicely done. All right, so if you're new to the channel, welcome. We just did a video on 2023 draft picks. So apparently they're worth a lot. We did a show on 2022 draft, both just high level, but we're going back to our OG videos here, doing a one player, Mr. Trey Lance, this evening. If you wouldn't mind, hit that like, subscribe if you like it, and yeah, let's rock and roll. Scott, get us started, sir.
Well, Trey Lance, he actually benefited by the fact that he didn't play a whole lot this year and actually saved his value, whereas all the other quarterbacks from last year's rookie class, other than Mac Jones, lost some value. Trey Lance currently is QB9, which is pretty much right around where he's going last year. I mean, you could have debated whether he was QB8, QB9, QB10. He was in the late first, early second round of startup drafts, and people thought that was crazy. I know we've talked about on prior videos. If you double tapped rookie quarterbacks last year, if you went, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, or Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, like you probably didn't too well in your league if that was your startup strategy. But it's a new season. Really, Trey Lance only played a couple games this year where he was actually the quarterback. He came in early in the season. They had packages for him, which seemed to kind of wane as the season went on. But he was kind of saved by the fact he didn't play. So now I don't think the season could have ended better for him, given
Yeah, right.
how the Niners made it pretty far, but fell just short. And I think most people, at least what I've heard from the national media, was like, man, imagine if they would have had Kirk Cousins or even Mac Jones. Like they would probably be in the Super Bowl right now, and they'd probably be the favorites if they just had a little bit better of a quarterback. So he's in a great situation. He's going to be handed the starting job. The Niners are not going to go back to Jimmy Garoppolo. The fear was, if he wins a Super Bowl, then there might be a debate. But I think that's been put to rest at this point. So really, where do you take Trey Lance in a startup? Do you try to target him? I think you're going to see people say, well, now's the time to go and buy. If you haven't been buying for the last 6-8 months since he wasn't starting during the season, then you've probably been behind the eight ball. So saying you're going to go buy now, you're buying at a convicted point where, hey, I have him probably right short of the Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert,
Yep.
Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson tier. Like he's right at that fringe top 10 quarterback. You're going to have to pay that price. We'll get into interesting debates on other players in that range. It happens to be 3 rookies from last year, which I think all fit that bill along with Russell Wilson. Maybe Jalen Hurts, depending on, how long you think he's going to start. But it's an interesting debate. But I think he's still a buy because, he's going to probably have a floor for the next 2 years where at worst he gives you like Jalen Hurts level production. But he also has a ceiling of being the next, I don't want to say next Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes, but something in the middle to where he just takes another step and all of a sudden he's in the
Yep.
mix with the elite guys.
What do you think, Shane?
I mean, a lot of it's rose-colored glasses, right? We're looking at Trey Lance, and apparently he's not going to run into any of these issues that rookie quarterbacks ran into this year. He's really getting the benefit of not playing. But don't forget that he's going to, there's the real world football consequences of him not playing. This is a guy that has 320 career college attempts, or, like half a season of what Trevor Lawrence had. And Justin Fields was what, a 4-year starter, 3-year starter? I don't know. He's in his mid-30s when he came out, whatever. This guy's got 1 year of college experience plus one showcase game, which he sucked in. And we all anointed him as a lot of people anointed him as the quarterback one of the class because he can run. And I'm not saying that he's not going to be good. I'm just saying just slow down, man. Just slow down. Anyone that's trying to trade you, like if you have Justin Fields and someone's like, well, I'll give you Lance if you give me Fields and a pick, you need to punch them in their groin area as soon as that offer is made. Like that, don't move off of a quarterback like Fields for Lance. Don't move off of a quarterback like Lawrence for Lance, to be quite honest with you. Lance is going to have his growing pains too. Everything's not going to be rosy, but this is kind of what we thought it was going to happen. We thought he'd be in there the end of this year, but somehow Jimmy G did bad enough, good enough, not to lose his job until the last possible minute when he blew the season, when he was basically playing frisbee with the football. It was very nice throw. I wish you could throw the graphics up on there.
One day.
Yeah, one day. I have a feeling people are going to start double counting this now. Like, well, Lance is a starter now. Like, we didn't know that was going to happen when they drafted him at 3 overall. Like, we knew he was going to be the starter one day. We just didn't know if it would be 6 months or a year down the road. Physical tools. I mean, look, he's got all the physical ability in the world. Well, let's see. We'll see Kyle Shanahan's offense. It's going to be interesting to see how he runs that. Let's just say that.
Rank Lawrence, Fields, and Lance. Shane, you go first.
You just did.
All right, Scott.
Man, I think I'd actually rank them the opposite. I mean, maybe Lawrence over Fields. I think you could debate it. The thing with Lance is the things that got him drafted number 3 overall. Mental acumen. All they talked about, hardest worker in the draft, highest upside in the draft. He effectively played 2.5 games as a starter, averaged 18 PPR points a game. Would have been quarterback 12. So, yeah, I mean, maybe he's going to have to develop, but the fantasy ceiling, you've already seen it. You've already seen a higher fantasy ceiling than almost every QB2 in Dynasty. So I tend to bet on his character. I think there's a lot of things he has that Justin Fields doesn't have.
Well, let me ask you this: is he going to run 17 times a game like he did in his best game? Because if he is, and this is the same argument we made against Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson has one ability that Trey Lance doesn't, is elusiveness, because Trey Lance is a bigger guy. If Trey Lance is out there running, I don't even know what the math is, 16 times a game, that's I don't even know, like 150 rushing attempts at something like that at quarterback. Like I mean, we'll love it in fantasy. Just how long is he going to last if he does that, though?
I mean, he had a 20-point game and he threw for 250 yards. He only ran for 31 yards. So I think he's already shown he can do it both ways. I think the point is, I think you already know what you're going to get with Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields is very good. If there's a guy in this class that turns into he broke the league and in 2 years, everyone's chasing the next prototype, it's Trey Lance. It's not Justin Fields. It's not Trevor Lawrence. Those guys, I think, fit the mold of what we already have. So I think that's part of the allure, is it people don't know a lot. And he was the one guy that if you would have said he's going to play all 17 games, I think we would have had a totally different outlook. But he's still like a mystery, which I think is actually driving his value up a little bit. And we've talked about this with the 2022 video. Where do the quarterbacks land? He's in the best spot.
Trey Lance, Deebo Samuel, or Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen?
I'm taking Herbert and Allen. You can go ahead and take Deebo and Lance.
Yeah, I think that's a cool trade, only because I can see people wanting Lance and Deebo, but I actually think Deebo is one of those nuclear cells, if you can, that
right.
If you have Deebo, I have no Deebo. Disclaimer, I have no Deebo, but if you got through the season with Deebo, you're like, oh my gosh, he played every game and he didn't miss 3 weeks and he was really good. Like, I think 95% of people in Dynasty are like, please let me sell at the wide receiver 6,
And you got additional games out of him. You got the playoffs too, where he was injured in every game, but somehow popped back up, including the last game when they went to commercial and it sounded like the cart was coming for him. And when they came back, he was like, "Oh no, Deebo just popped up. He's fine."
You were totally playing with house money with Deebo being healthy. Would you rather have Zach Wilson,
no,
Elijah Moore, in the 106, or Trey Lance?
I'm bailing on Lance. Yeah. Oh, can I make that? Yeah, I can make that 106 and Zach Wilson a real quarterback.
Yeah, or I can make the 106 probably a 2023 first, maybe a second on top, or at least a 23 first. So I like that package. Yeah.
There's definitely things I could do with that to make that not having Zach Wilson ever start a game
I mean, and
honestly, roster.
Honestly, that brings up the ideas of, I think Zach Wilson is the pivot from Trey Lance. If you really have the balls to make that move, it's not Mac Jones. It's not one of these defined QB2s that are Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill. Like, we know what those guys are, we kind of know they have some job security. They're pretty good, but they're not great, but they're not ascending anywhere. I think the one QB that's down in the, late teens, early 20s that you could pivot off of that could give you, upside, but it's probably a much lesser hit chance, is Zach Wilson. So I love that idea.